Ricswaza.
ROT is one of the greatest horror games ever made by human hands. It perfectly encapsulates fear, horror, dread, as well as themes of existentialism, our place in the universe, the divine, life, death, misery, happiness, hope, birth, life, as well as parallels to the book of Genesis and the Adam and Eve story. But I think the most impressive aspect of the video game is how it somehow manages to capture what happened that night. The game starts off with a regular sight for me. Car crash out in the middle of the woods. Normally I would write it off as another bender, but actually this has a lot more thematic significance than would meet the eye. Your character has no name, which is a perfect conduit for you, the player, to put yourself in the protagonist's shoes. Almost as if there is no protagonist. Maybe you yourself, the player, are the protagonist in the game. To your left, the phone rings, but you don't pick it up. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this actually has a stronger parallel that I will explain later in the video. You can't interact with the phone, but what you can do is look around the car and take in the breathtaking world and graphics of this video game. The quality will only increase as the game continues on. As you can see, the phone is a Samsung, and this actually has a thematic significance that I will explain later on in the video. Then another normal sight for me. Oh, if I had a nickel for every time I was in a situation just like this. When you exit the car, you're free to look around the world, and the first thing that you'll be able to notice is just how slow you are actually moving. Now, this actually has a thematic significance that will be explained at the end of the video, so keep on watching. The second thing that you're going to notice is just how absolutely gorgeous this game is. I swear to God, it's almost as if they took a 3D 360 video of the outside world and put it in this video game. It is insanely good looking. The lighting is crucial to this video game, let me tell you. It is extremely harsh now, but it will get even more insane later on. You'll just have to wait and see. Why does this always happen to me? You try to help the woman, but guess exactly what happens, exactly what you think would happen. You end up back in your Range Rover. But weirdly, the phone isn't actually there. So you're going to have to go out and find it, but you know it's there. You know it's out there somewhere. So you have to go and find it yourself. Your first quest. You may have taken notice of that giant house out in the middle of the woods. I'll explain that as well. Now, as you're looking for knowledge of what is actually going on, you come across this house, and wouldn't you know it, your phone is right there in the shattered windowsill. And then the alarm sounds. Again, I really like the atmosphere. Like, it really does feel like the wind is blowing. They really did knock the graphics and just the whole atmosphere and everything out of the park. Also, the blood moon is rising, and of course the homunculus approaches. Yeah, the closer you get to it, the more freaky the world gets, but trust me, you're gonna want to edge your way. Yep. As you edge the creature, the entire universe freezes, and it's stuck in a very compromising position. I'm not going to say anything about that. I just want to let you know that it is in a compromising position, and whatever you choose to do to the creature, let's just say I won't say anything. You know what I'm saying? Also, you end up back in the car. Now, I bet you're asking yourself, now just what the golly gosh darn goodness is going on? Well, first things first, we got to answer that phone. You know what I'm saying?
Oh? Can you remember? What? Try and remember for me.
Do you remember?
I need some help.
Duck.
Now, it is a story beat that your ops find you in the game and do take potshots at you and run up on you. But trust me, this will all be explained fully at the end of the video, because I'm telling you, this actually has massive thematic consequences. Also, you pop them back because you always stay strapped. You know what I'm saying? Listen, because you're you and you are the protagonist, and I know you personally, you would never let anyone run up on you, bro, without taking a couple pot shots back at him. You know what I'm saying, bro? You stay strapped, all right? Fuck the ops. For real, on gang. Can you remember? Now, if you haven't noticed already, the game really wants you to remember what you did. And I don't know if you can remember, but I know I can remember. And because you can't remember, the Earth is losing its cohesion. It's losing its mind. It's becoming a wilder, more chaotic place because you can't remember.
What the hell is happening to me?
You need to remember. Get back to your vehicle. Wake up! Dude, I've been asking you all fucking day to remember, dude. Just fucking remember. It's not that hard to remember. Just remember. Why can't you remember? And before you know it, you're brought back to that fateful night. The eclipse. It was today. Or don't you remember? And because you're having such a tough time in this game, the game actually helps you out and gives you a cipher to solve. You get brownie points if you understand what this means. Or do you not remember that either? As you approach the light in the distance, you'll realize that it's another Ford Explorer. But you have a Range Rover, don't you? Don't you remember? You gotta remember to get back to your vehicle, man. Also, you gotta remember to bring an extra magazine for that Glock because it's just sitting there untouched. No matter what you do, you have to remember. The goal of this game is to remember. Why are you even here? What's going on right now? Who is that woman? These questions will be answered at the end of this awesome video. Just keep on watching. I promise it's worth it. And then before you know it, after you're done wandering around and exploring this little garden, you finally remember. You left your fucking Samsung on the hood of your Range Rover. And then the sirens attack. Actually, I beg to differ. A lot of things aren't clear, but they will be at the end of this video.
Stay with me.
Ignore that. That was a red herring. ROT. Now, what did that all mean? Alright, what did that mean? Now, let me preface this. I'm going to get my thoughts about the video game out right now, okay? I understand this is not a typical Rick review, and there's not really much of a review at all, and more of like a play-by-play of what actually happens in the video game. That's because the video game is 20 minutes long, and there isn't that much game to review. The graphic, I'll just get it out of the way. The music, the ambiance, the atmosphere, the audio, very good. Very good graphics. I already harped about that. Excellent. You know, it is very beautiful. It is a very beautiful game. And the gameplay, it really just consists of walking, but the main strength and core of this video game is obviously the story. Now, what is actually going on? Well, if you paid close attention and you looked at the clever sort of subtleties and details in the themes, and all sorts of little hints that push you in a certain direction, you will understand that the game was actually a modern retelling of the story of Genesis with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Now, let me explain why that is. The game starts with you, the player, the male player, the Adam of the situation, fully grown man placed in a beautiful, idyllic paradise with no one else to accompany you. Really, you have absolutely no idea how you got there. And the second thing that you see is obviously a woman, the Eve in this situation. And you, as Adam, are immediately drawn to your Eve. So obviously you go and help her, but hold on, wait 1 second. I said earlier in the video that the Samsung phone actually has a thematic sort of meaning. It has an importance to the story that you might think it's just like a silly little product placement, or they ran out of assets, or they wanted to use something. They click and drag like a little phone asset from Gmod or something. That was a fucking Spectre on the camera. You might think that it's just like an asset that they pulled randomly and it just so happened to say Samsung. Not the case. In fact, it actually has a deep symbolic meaning and assists in the biblically thematic storytelling at play here. Samsung. Samuel, the archangel Samuel, one of God's highest level of angels, sung his glory, praise be, hallelujah. Now, it's pretty weird how all of the messages come to you through Sam, who is singing his praises. He's the only communication that you have throughout this entire endeavor, because he gives you knowledge in this garden of Eden. The pieces are kind of lining up a little bit too well, don't you think? But it gets even deeper. What actually happens when you get the Samsung the very first time? Wait a minute. It all goes to shit. So what happens is, the second that you take a bite out of this Samsung, this fruit of knowledge, the entire paradise comes apart. Eve disappears and is replaced by a disgusting homunculus. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, oh, that's just a creepy little monster, but actually that is not a creepy little monster. It could have two meanings. I haven't nailed it down. A, this disgusting homunculus is possibly the snake, because it kind of rolls around on its back and is just like trying to get to you all the time. It's very slow as well. Snakes are notoriously slow creatures. And you know, it's duplicitous in nature, you know, because it lulls you into sort of a sense of security when it finally stops when you approach it. And also, may I remind you that when you take a bite of the Samsung apple, the garden is overwhelmed with light. Heaven's light? I think so. The light is absolutely brightest when you get to the devil, Satan, who is in the form of this snake homunculus creature. But wait 1 second here. Isn't Lucifer called the Enlightened One? Or the Light Bringer? Or the Light Bringer? He's the light something. I swear to God, he's the light something. Now, the second thing that the homunculus could be alluding to thematically is that homunculus, which looks awfully similar to the woman, I thought originally that it was the woman, but actually, upon further inspection, I don't think it's the woman at all. And this is where it really it really delves into like the horror, disturbing aspect of it. That homunculus could very well be your offspring. But Rick, that doesn't make any sense. Well, why would that be the offspring? Well, after man ate the apple and gained knowledge, he fucked Eve, raw dog animal fucking. And when that happened, the very act of love was tainted irreparably. And the sons and daughters, the offspring of man, was forever polluted to be a disgusting creature, a homunculus. Now, in the second act of the game, as you can see, the light goes away after you have the knowledge, and the Samsung is trying to tell you to remember. Now, what is it trying to remind you of? What is it trying to let you know of? Like, what is it trying to remind you? What are you trying to remember? Trying to let you remember the good times, the positivity, the creativity, the absolute paradise that was the Garden of Eden. And it's trying to remind you this as you're walking through this black void, this sort of this fucked up version of the garden. May I be so bold as to say that it is trying to let you remember the Garden of Eden as you are walking through the shadow of death? And the hole gets even deeper, because the more that you try to chase that dragon that is the Samsung knowledge phone, you just can't do it. It keeps bringing you back to the car. No, because no matter how many times you try to unbite that apple, you're not getting back into Eden, man. But that doesn't matter, because what actually does matter is the ending of the video game. Now, your character, the protagonist, is trying to get back into the garden, and he's freaking out. He doesn't understand what's going on because, ironically, despite all of the knowledge, he cannot comprehend why God would push him and Eve out of the garden. And Eve is never seen again, by the way. Eve is never seen again. Another thing that should be taken note of is the ops that pull up and start popping at you. They start shooting at your vehicle. The vehicle may be Faith. The vehicle could very well be Faith. But the ops, that's Lucifer's demons. What are you, stupid? What are you, fucking dumb? And armed with nothing but a trusty Glock 17, chambered in 9mm, 17 rounds per magazine, you fight off Lucifer's demons. And that alone is like Oscar worthy. Whenever Satan sends his demons against you, just shoot him with a gun. And at the very conclusion of the game, it dawns on you that you can truly never get back to the way things were. But that doesn't matter, because you got to push forward. And you send a text to your wife saying that you're going to be late for dinner because it was a traffic jam. That traffic jam was the deviation of the plan, and eating the apple of Eden. The whole plan got fucked up. But it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you still get out of that car and you still look for your Eve. And I think that's beautiful. That really is beautiful. Okay, now that we've covered all of that, right? And the positive message of persevering and struggling through whatever comes your way, through the guise and through the vessel and through the mechanisms of telling the Garden of Eden story, but in a modern sense. The title, ROT. What does ROT have to do with anything? You don't know? ROT is endemic to life. It's in all of us. It's the rot of the title is describing the rot within your very soul. It is talking about our internal rot. It's talking about our societal rot. It's talking about cultural rot. And it's more specifically talking about the rot of the human spirit. And by eating the apple of the Garden of Eden, humanity has been on a steady, rotting decline ever since then. Now, Rick, why'd you want to talk about this game? Why'd you want to talk about this game? Why do you think it's such a good game? Well, obviously because of the incredible thematic elements and the phenomenal storytelling, but also because it resonates with me personally. You see, I love rot. I love brain rot. I love rotting. It is in all of us. And no matter how much you try to bury it or try to stifle it in sort of like, oh, you know, I'm mature, I'm a grown man, I don't like brain rot, I don't like wilding out, I don't like saying all that weird shit, I don't like being weird, I'm a grown man, I pay my taxes. At the very end of the day, no matter how hard you try to bury it, that rot is in there. It's in you. Watching this video, it's in you. You can forget it all you want, but it's there. Like me. I'm there. We're both there. And we're always waiting for you. And we're reveling in it. And you can deny it all you want, but the worst thing that you can do is deny it, because you're denying yourself. And denying yourself is the surest way to rot. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.